Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, there was so much news that came out as of today, it's actually crazy to go and see. We had basically the very first day of the really big FTC court hearing going over here with Xbox, and I will be swearing to God there will be so much content to go over throughout these next few days alone, just on the fact of how much stuff is coming out. There is PlayStation news, there is Xbox news, there is drama, there is leaks, and as of right now, one of the bigger stories, I'm going to try to go and fine-tune some of these throughout these next few days, and talk about them because they are slowly easing out and these are nuts. Now this one's a little bit of a bigger one too when it comes to Jim Ryan, basically the PlayStation big head honcho, talking about basically the exclusivities as well as also the fact that some really big Xbox games were actually meant to be PlayStation games as well and actually end up falling on through due to these actual big acquisitions. There's a lot of drama going on, a lot of kind of weird stuff too as well. So I'm going to talk about this all throughout the video, so make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below. We have the Twitch and also the other various links too as well. And of course, if you guys are bored, go and I guess leave your thoughts and comments and get in some good little fights in the comment section down below. So we have two kind of major big things to go and talk about over here. Number one, it was actually now confirmed on all this type of stuff that there was a major big game known as Starfield actually was meant to come out for the PlayStation 5 prior to this actually really huge ZeniMax acquisition, which as you guys know is regards to Bethesda. And as well, we're getting a lot more of this internal information coming out because we're basically using these as references for prior acquisitions of like what basically happened during the last acquisition that would make this into a thing, if that kind of makes sense. It's kind of like, hey, like you went and you made a lemonade stand, so you went and did this as you were doing this last time, so you most likely would do it a similar way if you made another one in the future. Really kind of a bad example, but whatever. But as we kind of went and talked about, there's a lot of really brand new information coming out when it does come to all of these games. A lot more just various things come out in general when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation, games, and exclusivity. So basically, it does seem like it's confirmed that Starfield was planned to be a PlayStation 5 game. They were in contact, they were talks with Bethesda, etc., all before this huge acquisition, the FTC, the legal body, says. So Bethesda's sci-fi RPG would have come to PlayStation if not for the Microsoft acquisition of ZeniMax in 2021, according to the FTC. So apparently ever since they bought them out 2 years ago, this was like a long-term initially planned plan for them to have a PlayStation version of the now exclusive Starfield game. As you guys probably know, right now, Starfield pretty much is the bread and butter for when it does come to Xbox. This is the game that a lot of folks are assuming is going to like maybe start the next Switch or turnover for the Xbox generation, which I think is very intriguing to go and see. So Starfield, the next major Xbox console exclusive from the makers of Skyrim and Fallout, was originally planned to release on PlayStation 5, according to the Federal Trade Commission. Documents recently made public, and we'll get a lot more of these big leaks coming out over here as part of the FTC's injunction against Microsoft's planned acquisition of Activision Blizzard, state that prior to Microsoft's $7.5 billion acquisition of ZeniMax, both Starfield and Redfall were planned to release on rival Sony's PlayStation 5 console. So as of right now, this does seem like it is confirmed. We touched on this a little bit as of yesterday, but these are now proper legal guidances stating that these games were supposed to come out on the PlayStation 5. Also, I can't recall if they've said this before, but the FTC believes Starfield was originally planned to also release on PS5. Seems illogical given time it was in development. So basically, it's trying to go and assume that Bethesda made a game for, let's say, like 10 years. Is a little bit more of an exaggeration over there, but a very long time. They probably would have wanted released on Xbox, Steam, and PS5 all at the same time. Maybe not the Switch, because, well, Switch, but either way. So that obviously changed once Microsoft announced it would be purchasing ZeniMax in 2020, with the deal being finalized in March of 2021. Starfield was originally announced in 2018. The game's announcement teaser does not mention what platforms the games would be shipped on. Fans have long assumed that the major new game of Bethesda Game Studios would have been released on multiple platforms if not for this Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda, given that the recent and prior Skyrim and Fallout games have also been on both consoles in the past. So a lot of folks out here kind of complaining about this too if they're a PlayStation user, because it did technically mean that they lost the games themselves. Now, I'm okay with this because they've spent all this money on it, and we've talked about this on prior videos even as of like yesterday, but it's in the works now in terms of the legality side. Because now we're seeing like these internal things, which we'll talk about over here in a second, for the PlayStation email that was floating around apparently as evidence like K or so. So when it came to all this type of stuff with these interviews, etc., these were meant to have PlayStation exclusives. They were meant to go and actually be released. It just doesn't seem like they were allowed to. And then these other various versions were basically just abandoned after these acquisitions. As well, Microsoft leaders were also originally vague on about whether or not these games would be exclusive prior to these ZeniMax deals, because they probably wanted to go and push and assume that they want to make these games, well, private. But once the deal was closed, it was then quickly announced that, like, yeah, haha, losers, we're going to go and make these games all for Xbox and PC exclusives. Once again, though, they spent like $10 billion. I feel like it's definitely in their right, but it's just kind of weird to go and see this in terms of like acquisition talks. Don't forget this is all in regards to the acquisition. So now Microsoft's handling of ZeniMax and making certain games exclusive could factor into the FTC's final ruling matter, as the FTC, as of today, is laying out its case for why Microsoft should not be allowed to acquire Activision Blizzard. Though Microsoft had insisted it doesn't plan to make Activision games like Call of Duty exclusive anytime soon, the FTC claims that Microsoft's actions fall in this prior year, as we kind of talked about pretty heavily over here, was the same kind of thought process I was trying to go and push. They're basically saying, like, yeah, this is like, you have to worry about this. This is like old stuff as well. Like, they basically have done it already, so they know. So the FTC did announce that in December they would be suing to block the Microsoft $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard. A federal court last week issued a temporary restraining order requested by the FTC as well to go put this into an injunction itself. I want to make sure that this deal is not finalized by July 18th. They'd have to go and also have to pay like a massive $3 billion breakup fee. So once again, it has now been confirmed that they stole exclusive titles. They paid for it. I think it's fine, but it's in terms of legality for future acquisitions, it does make things a little bit harder. We also had even more information out there too when it comes to Sony's PlayStation chief. Privately also said that Microsoft's Activision deal wasn't even about these exclusives though as well, which is funny because it's kind of like the main prior point. Where the bombshell email in the FTC versus Microsoft case, which is getting a lot more actual attention. By the way, if you like this type of drama, let me know. There's actually some really good stuff. So they're saying they're only minutes into the FTC versus Microsoft hearing. There was an entire hearing going on, which is why we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about. And they've already had a bombshell revelation. Sony's PlayStation chief, Jim Ryan, believed that Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard wasn't about lacking games as Xbox exclusives, according to a newly unsealed email. Microsoft counsel reviewed the exchange between Ryan and former Sony CEO discussing the announcement of the deal last year. It is not an exclusivity play at all, said Jim Ryan. Funny enough, they're thinking bigger than that, and they have the cash to make moves like this. I've spent a fair amount of time with Phil Spencer and Bobby Kotick, and I'm pretty sure we will continue to see Call of Duty and PlayStation for years to come. So either way, he's trying to go and say it's like not necessarily about the exclusivity of it, it's more so about maybe like something even bigger than that. Like one of the bigger, like maybe trying to go get like really, really exorbitant fees in terms of every PlayStation purchase of Call of Duty, which they could, or in terms of revenue sharing or microtransaction sharing or something in between. So the surprise revelation runs counter to Sony's arguments against the Microsoft deal and its filings with regulators, as we just went and kind of covered up over there, where Sony has maintained its fears Microsoft could make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox or even sabotage the PlayStation version of the game. Ryan said, we have some good stuff cooking. I'm not complacent. I'd rather this didn't happen in regards like them getting Call of Duty and all these other exclusive games, but we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay. So Microsoft initially offered Call of Duty, as you guys know, for 3 years, and then they did another one for another 10 years too as well. On top of that, they're also trying to go push this for like NVIDIA and all these other various things too as well. Like, just trying to make sure that people actually have an offer to go and have Call of Duty in their games. But the Call of Duty competition fears were initially a big part of the UK's competition investigation before the regulators more so dropped the console concerns and more went on the actual cloud hosting concerns too as well. Then they go and say that today showed Sony has known all along will stand by our promise to keep games on its platform and make clear its work to lobby against the deal and is only to protect its dominant position in the market, said David Cuddy, general manager of the public affairs at Microsoft. Once again, kind of calling out PlayStation, saying that they're basically just forcing this to go and happen because they want to go and like maintain up like we're small, so we want to have this Activision acquisition go through so we get bigger, while they're also trying their best to somewhat try to go and appease up the overall local economies, such as the FTC, saying, no, we'll make it public for everyone, but then also the FTC is calling out Xbox, stating, no, you guys did not do this before for Bethesda. Why would we trust you now? So it really is a lot of big back and forth, and there's even more kind of crazy stuff that's been uncovered throughout these court hearings. If you guys want to do more deep dives, I would love to, because there's just a lot of stuff to talk about, and I always love these big legal cases. But right now, it is kind of crazy to see that PlayStation could have actually had Starfield, that Xbox itself is still kind of doing like somewhat scummy stuff behind the scenes, although we're not really sure their true intentions, but it seems that the legality-wise, a lot of this bad stuff is coming out. It's kind of crazy to go and see what's going to go and happen next. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below in case you guys want to go and follow. We have the Amazon links too as well down below for all the consoles too. And of course, leave your thoughts and comments. If you guys want more of this stuff, let me know, because we'll probably cover up a decent bit of this up on the stream itself.